faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Hey everyone, this is Walter from iWalter. Yeah, I haven't done a show in a while. I don't know why. Well, actually, I wanted to do one today or tonight because it's almost like 3 o'clock in the morning for me, a.m. So it's very late. And I did work today. I did work really hard too, so I'm kind of burned out. Now, don't get me wrong. I have actually right now, just want to give not naming who they are, but a plug out to these people who had helped me tonight because they were beyond fantastic. They were really good, so I thanked them. But it was still a lot of work for all of us to do. So yet I have to work with me, or forgive me, because I'm like really out of it right now. I'm very tired and still have a little bit of a cold reminiscent, or not reminiscent, but it's lingering on. It's lingered on, so that's not helping me at all. So forgive me. I did have a lot on my plate, believe it or not, from like just 2 days. I came up with a bunch of stuff, some really good material. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I'll mention it again either way. It is, did I say November or something like that? See, that's how tired I am right now. It's February 12th, so forgive me. It's February 12th. It's 2 days until Valentine's Day. Not a big deal to me. Yeah, what was I going to say? I had some material I actually wanted to cover, and I had this in mind for quite a few days, and now I'm actually going to do it because I had made up my mind. And right now I have, I think, I would say at least 4 sound bites or sound clips I want to play. And each one of them is pretty long too. That's a problem. Especially, it's not a problem for me because that means I can do less talking. But unfortunately, there's another side to that. There is a lot I did want to talk about. I just don't have time to. So at work tonight, when I had time, I actually ripped these segments. One's actually from Rush Limbaugh that's 15 minutes long. There's another one called "Can't Believe Trump Won," and it's for people who actually voted for Trump, by the way. And that one's like 6 or 7 minutes long. And then there's this one, I really like this woman. I'm looking at it now. Activist Mommy. She's incredible. She's on Facebook. She's actually a rather decent-looking woman. I think she's very cute. But that's not the point, though. The point is she, what she says makes a lot of sense, and it pisses off a lot of people at the same time from the left. Who feel like they're victimized. So, there's a little bit of everything tonight, but it's just going to be a lot of segments. And a lot of times people don't mind that because then they don't have to listen to my voice. So there's good and bad to that. So my initial thing that I wanted to do as far as a show goes was, I think it was last year at some point. I'm looking at it now. Sorry, I'm banging into things. They've been trying to really force the thumb screws on me at work. And I think everybody has this. Actually, I wish I would have pulled this up now because I was really shocked by this, by the way. And I'm going to see if I can do it now without destroying what I had prepped for the show in the last few minutes before I went on air. It was on I put it on Facebook. I didn't get it from Facebook. I actually got it from YouTube. But see, what I do is I post everything I need to use as far as job material. I place it on my Facebook page. It just makes it a lot easier for me. So I'm going to try to dig through real quick. And I put up so many other articles. It was with Christopher Eccleston. Is that his name, right? The guy who brought Doctor Who back. And there's a couple interviews, old ones from 2005. God, it's hard to say that's old now, but it really is now. It's almost like what? 2005, it's 2018. It's well over 10 years. So it's hard to believe that Doctor Who has been back, because 2005 to 2015, I got to remind myself how many years that's been. But there was a couple different interesting things he was in these interviews, like video interviews, whatever you want to call them, like on some talk shows, that were really surprising with Eccleston. It kind of blew my mind hearing this man talk. The one that really got to me, I'm looking at the segment now. I didn't rip it, so don't worry, and it would just be too much if I would have ripped that too. It was on YouTube, and it says Christopher Eccleston breaks down after admitting to bullying. So I can't picture him, Christopher Eccleston, being a person who was bullied. I can't imagine, because some of the movies he played, he plays a pretty vicious character. And he's a really cool dude. I mean, he was in 28 Days Later, and I think he was in some other car heist movie. He's on a couple different TV shows. Obviously, he played Doctor Who. But he always usually plays the bad guy. So I'm used to seeing Eccleston play like the person you really don't want to like. And when he got Doctor Who, it was like, dude, you're incredible. I love you as Doctor Who when he brought it back. I think he was, on the new series, not only did he reboot the series, and unfortunately he was only on for one season, but he was really good. He was really good. Some of the episodes were a little corny, but he could be a little, because they asked him, like, that's why he had taken the part, was because he always plays these vicious characters, and they said this would be good for you. It kind of shows that you can do more than just being like a violent character in every segment you do, if it's a movie or TV show, whatever. So this really opened up his horizons. I think his if I remember correctly, I thought it was his agent said you should really do this, and he did. Plus, he said in this interview, a couple of them, he did it because of the guy who brought the show back, or director. I can't remember his name right now. It's not important. So, he liked the person. I guess he's worked with this particular director before. He really thought highly of him. Christopher Eccleston did. So then he goes, when they're interviewing him, by the way, cut to the chase, he talks about like when he was in grade school or middle school, when he was in high school, whatever, prior to acting, or I don't know if he went to, did he go to college or not? I'm not sure. But prior to that, whatever those grades are, he said that he was bullied quite a bit. And I had the same experience. So it really hit home to me. Not only by a guy, I'm not going to say guys, but a guy. He actually first got bullied by a girl. And it was like, yeah, you know what? I hate to say this, but I had the same experience when I was in high school. I got bullied by a girl and a guy. So I also experienced that. Now, most people say, how can a girl push you around? Trust me, they can. It's the emotional abuse you get from a girl that is the bullying. It's not like they physically knock you down. You got to understand, bullying is more than just pushing somebody around or beating them up or threatening them. It can be emotional abuse, which is much more harmful. Just to let you know. So I've experienced that too. And he actually broke down. He said that at one point for a short period of time, and he said Eccleston said he just stopped himself from doing it, that he became the person who was the bully to somebody else, because that's what you end up doing. I never, ever did that I know of. I don't think so. Maybe I did when I was a little kid. I don't know, like in grade school. But yeah, generally it gets passed on. That's how this stuff happens. Like if you're in an abusive family relationship, generally if you're the one who's being abused, that's going to be passed on, that you're going to be abusing somebody else. So I kind of admitted to that. And he said he stopped himself. He said, I can't believe, like, pretty much in so many words or less. Now I'm doing the same thing that I didn't like happening to me, and he stopped himself. He felt really bad. I think he said years later he actually apologized to the person he had, for a short, brief period of time that he picked on. So, I mean, it's not funny and it's not good. Now, it was interesting, which I experienced, by the way. This is why I'm bringing this up also. There was a segment underneath while this video was going on YouTube with him. It's an older video with Eccleston. They're saying that even at your job, there is a percentage, they give a percentage of bullying going on within your job. And it's like, yeah, I'm actually experiencing that actually right now, that I get bullied at work. Not the same way you do in high school. They're not going to steal my cafeteria food or lunch money, but they're going to and steal my locker. No, it hasn't gotten that bad yet, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close. So I just wanted to mention that. I'm already 10 minutes in. I got like an hour's worth of segments to do. So anyway, initially what I was going to do for a show, and I'm going to keep the name, by the way, is stupid people should not breed. That old saying, stupid people shouldn't breed. Something like that. So I'm going to have to look it up because maybe it's dumb people can't breed. I can't remember. Again, it's not important. It's a stupid podcast, and no one's going to listen to it. Maybe my friend Matt will, but I doubt it. He's got more important things that's going on right now in his life. But yeah, at work though, talking about bullying, we have what's called a health services nurse, head nurse. She's in charge of the people at my plant site that I work at. And for years, she's just, she's what we call, I'm a union person. We work at a union. She's the type of person, she sides with the company. Like, she acts like she's your friend, but she's not. She's actually a very not nice person. She's very, very, unkind. She acts sincere and sweet. But she's gotten me so mad before. She had got me so angry before. I literally started yelling at her. And it was on the phone, I think. Because she tries not to listen, and then she gives you a hard time of, oh, you need to do that. She'll make you jump through fired hoops, and that won't be enough for her. Like, she wants you to sell, I'm using paraphrases or whatever you call those. Sure, expect you to give your firstborn over to her. I mean, this woman is beyond evil, in my opinion. So anyway, I'm sorry about that. My cold is still kind of lingering a little bit. Sometimes it's worse. So anyway, I've dealt with this woman for years. I've done everything she's asked me to do, and the last thing she asked me to do was physically or financially. Financially, it was impossible. She wanted me to go because I have what's called a learning disability. I don't know if you know what that is. I'm not going to go into a big thing because I want to play these segments tonight, and I want to get done before like 6 o'clock in the morning if I can. Yeah, she, oh, you got to go to this person, you got to go to that person. You really need to go to get this test done, psych eval test. It's basically it's the same kind of test you get evaluated for one thing, to see what type of learning disability you have, and the other reason is it also gives you in response to this test, it takes 8 hours. I don't know if I mentioned it before. It's an 8-hour test. And the test basically tells you your IQ level as well. So, I've had this test 3 times in my lifetime. 3 times. And the first time it was paid for through my grade school or whatever it was, because, back from day one and getting schooled, there was obviously an issue that I was not learning as well as I should be. I was like basically couldn't even pass probably kindergarten. So I know I'm being sarcastic. So anyway, the second time was when I was in college. And the results from those 2 times were exactly the same. I don't have the records to prove it, but I remember distinctly what the results were. The third time was just last year. The results were pretty much percentage points on IQ level, pretty much the same once again. So this vicious woman I talk about at work, this nurse, has had me has had me go to different doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists. I actually, just to please her, I've actually gotten MRI, CAT scans, and that's not enough. Just to prove, like, listen, there are certain things I just cannot do. So, and she, like, really puts the thumb screws. Oh, you're going to get certain things done every 6 months, every year. And she says, it's not me, though, that, innocent type of trying to be, well, it's not me. Well, yeah, it is you. It is you. You're just trying to get me to quit. And it's like, the more you push me out try to push me out the door, the more I'm going to fight back. That's just the way I am. So, I've heard other people have experiences with this woman and other people going through what I am right now with being trying to be pushed out of a job or pushed out the door, but they can't do it legally, so they're going to do it they're going to do it in other ways. So, this last thing, like I said, was the most financial burden on anybody, because this test goes up to $3,000. The going rate is about $3,000 for this test, because it takes 8 hours. That's a long time. Giving you different types of, like, the Rorschach test. I mean, that is in there, believe it or not. Block tests. It tests your motor skills on certain paperwork they give you. How you react. So they go over you. They go over me with a fine-tooth comb. This test. And I actually went to a place called it's in Norristown, around Norristown, a place called the Neurology Group. I said, hey, listen, can you give this test? It's very expensive. I have to pay out of pocket. Can you give this? So I set up an appointment with this guy at this place called the Neurology Group. He says, listen, I can't give this test. You need a certified psychiatrist to give this to you. So the guy recommended me to this place called OVR, Office of Rehabilitation, down in Norristown. And he says, you know what? They may even flip the tab and pay for the test. But he said, this neurologist said, this is where you need to go. I can't give you this test. So it had taken me almost a few years to get to where I am at right now, or even last year. So I finally made an appointment for this OVR office. I had to wait months. All of last year, I had to wait at least, I don't know how many months to get this to clear, to get the OVR place to speak to me and set me up with a counselor. So they finally did. They finally did that. And then the counselor set me up with this test. I said, this is what I want to get out of here. I want to get this test done. She said, well, I have to do a background check and see if you're, potential person we can help. Do you fit the criteria, or whatever you want to say, to come to this Office of Rehabilitation? I passed it with flying colors. So she says, what do you want to get out of it? So I said, I just want to get this test done. She says, that's not a problem. You just might have to come back for a couple of visits here and there to touch base with me. She set up the test. She called this place in Philadelphia. It's called, I'm looking at it right now, who gives this test. It's by a student with a certified psychiatrist called, but the school, it was a school in Philadelphia, a medical school, called the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. Anyway, they gave me the test. I had to take a day off. I had to take a vacation day from work, and I actually had taken a day off after because I was so burned out after this test. 8 hours. I had to do it early in the morning, and it ran literally for 8 hours. It was a full day of this taking test with a very short break in between. So maybe a half an hour if I was lucky. And you get really burned out because they're drilling you on everything. So anyway, this test I got done, I don't know if it's the name of it, but I'm going to say it is vocational/educational neuropsychological evaluation. I had to break that down for a minute. So this test had taken almost another few months to get the results back because they got to go over everything, and then then they have to sit down with me again to go over the results. So it's very detailed, the test. It is 12 pages. They gave me every single test under the sun. And when I handed it over to this nurse, the first thing she said, well, what's this OVR? Who's this counselor? She's not certified to give this test. Then she was trying to push on me, this nurse. Well, I can't accept this at first because she said you really need a psychiatrist to give you this test. And then she was trying to throw some other things, but I'm going to kind of drill through because I got some other things I need to focus on tonight, or at least play for people to listen to. I think they're very important. Not about this, but this was the main thing tonight, was me talking about this vocational test, educational. IQ test. So I remember when I went for the results, and the psychiatrist and the woman who gave me the test, who's studying to become a certified psychiatrist, she's a student, was telling me, like, you won't understand this stuff, but, we make our determination on your results by using something called, we use different sources to come up with the results. One of them's called, God, I should have had that paper in front of me, folks, and I don't. Oh, DSM-3, or no, DSM-5 now. It's DSM-5. I have the paper somewhere. I actually pulled it, and then I forgot. So give me a second. I'm going to get this, and I'm going to continue to talk. So it sounds like I'm far away. Alrighty, I'm still here, though, by the way. I am still here. And I'm still here, and I don't have the paper. Okay, folks, I don't have that paper in front of me, so I apologize about that. And I don't want to pull up another page. Because I had, like, what it actually stands for. And you can actually buy the book. Doesn't mean you can use it, because you're not a certified person. It's a medical book. DSM. I'll just put DSM-5, because when I was in college, we had to learn about this stuff. Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, and it's the 5th edition. When I was in college, we were using the DSM-3 and version 4. 5 is brand new. So, bottom line is, you have to use this. You have to be to use this, but you can buy the book, even on Amazon. But to use the book and to understand it, you have to be a certified clinical psychiatrist. You can't just buy the book and say, okay. And what this book does, though, I remember from in college, you have to pick, three. It has to be 3 consecutive, I think, or so. Problems like, say, you have an eating disorder. I'm just going to use that as an example, or you have depression or something like that. You look up what depression would mean, or OCD. You would look that up in the DSM-5 book. It would give you certain symptoms. And in order to diagnose somebody with those symptoms, they would have to have so many of them. And then you can say, okay, this is exactly what they have. So you can't just say, okay, this person is suffering from an emotional, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, or you can't say, okay, this person's manic depressive, unless you can pigeonhole their symptoms that you experience after so many times you meet with them. You have to pigeonhole at least 3 or so, maybe more symptoms that fit into that diagnosis, and then you can say, okay, this is what this person has. It's very precise on, it's very straightforward. Like, you can't just say this is what this person has. It has to be very specific. And this breaks it down to make sure that you're not misdiagnosing a person. So I went a little too far and I'm not making much sense. You can look it up. Just look up DSM-5. Just put in the abbreviation. You don't need to know the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. You don't need to know that. But she referred to that, by the way, the woman who was giving me the results, of the one who gave me this test, and she was referring to the DSM-5. And I was like, well, you probably don't know what this is. It's a medical book. It was like, no, I know it very well. I didn't say that to her, but I know it. So when I heard this nurse at work, by the way, going back to that real quick, telling me that these people aren't certified to give me this test, I was just really ready just to yell at her and say, you are just, this woman, this nurse at work, you're a total bitch because you have no clue what you're talking about. And I've heard from other people, many sources that say this woman thinks she's a certified nurse, but she really isn't. She's like a nurse practitioner who got it, handed a little bit more power than she really should have, or she thinks she has it. And the company allows her to have this. So she oversteps her position and her boundaries to the point that I was really ready to yell at her because she acted like, well, you hand me all this paper, but this is not legit. So bottom line was, she was trying to find, like, she didn't think I was going to get this test done because this test is very expensive. I didn't pay anything for it. The state paid for it. So, yeah, I paid for it in an indirect way because so did everybody else because the state paid for it, and they said that I qualify what is needed for this test to be covered for me, which it was. So the bottom line is you don't get into OVR for one thing unless you fit certain credentials, which I passed with flying colors. You don't get this test given to you from somebody on the back street, out of a truck. This has to be given to you by a certified professional. And she was saying it wasn't. So I was very angry about that. So why do I want to call this episode of iWalter then? You're probably maybe asking, stupid people shouldn't breed. Well, very simple. There is a simple answer to that, believe it or not, and I'm just going for the last half an hour in a long way. This is confidential information, so I don't need to go into it because I'm really not supposed to. The end result on my IQ level, which I try to tell people that are very close to me now, I'm telling my audience of 0, was a 78. So I looked it up. What does a 78 mean? 78 out of a statistical 100, you hear somebody who has a 120 is a genius, whatever. I'm at 78. I know for a fact because when I was in what was called human services to become a mental health technician, I wanted to do that for the longest time. But then it was just like, this is too much. I have too many of my own issues. I have too much of my own baggage. This is not for me. So I changed my major from human services, which it would have been to become an MHT, the start of becoming one, or a counselor, to, communications. One thing we learned that an IQ of 70 points and below is retarded. So let me see if I had this up. So I looked it up online because I wasn't quite sure. Okay, here, I got this from some source, and I don't have the name of the source. I looked it up on Google. And this is what it says, by the way. An IQ score, and they use this word in my review, by the way, that I have a borderline intelligence. And they kept on insisting, this time in 20 years ago or 30 years ago when I was in college getting this test, they said the same thing, that, well, you're not retarded. They kept on insisting, well, you're not retarded. Well, you know what? Yeah, I am borderline retarded. Does that offend me? No, it's just a fact. So there's a lot of reasons why I'm saying that too. But anyway, let me read this real quick. An IQ score of 78 is borderline intelligence. That's what I just said. The Wessler Intelligence Scale classifies an IQ of 78, which I said I just have. I have it on black and white paper. Well, paper. Of 78 borderline intelligence, which is also considered borderline mental retardation. And in this examination of an IQ of 78, it goes on to discuss the topics because it was a whole thing. I'm not going to read it. I don't have it. Bottom line, I'm borderline retarded. So what? Why I'm saying that, though, that's why I want to name this episode Stupid People Shouldn't Breed. Well, I don't breed. I don't have a girlfriend. Can't really say I really had one. I had maybe a girlfriend for a short period of time, but nothing I can write home about. How's that? So where am I going to go with this? I don't know. I have no clue. I get tired of people, this is where I'm going to go with this. I'm tired of people saying how they're victimized or how, they have it so much harder. I had it very hard, folks. I had it very fucking hard. To get my associate's degree, which was in applied science, and in my BA in communications, I had to fight tooth and nail. I had to work really, really fucking hard. And hearing people crying that they are victims just drives me up the fucking walls. It drives me up the fucking walls. There's no other way to put it. So you're talking about a man who, when I read over the other stuff in that thing where it says that you're borderline retarded, the best job they said I would probably have would be a janitor, which I actually do anyway. They also said you're not going to make much money. Well, I made over 6 figures last year, so I broke that mold. Your lifespan's going to be short. My lifespan should be short. Well, I hope it is not. I've surpassed where I should be at my intelligence level. I went for an associate's degree and I got it. I went for a bachelor's degree and I got it. I was ready to go to grad school, but I decided not to because I got a really good job. It's not going to make any difference if I go to school for the next 3 years or something for a master's degree. It wouldn't be worth it. And I'm not happy at my job, but it is a job and I can support myself. And I have a 401k and I'm pretty well off with that and some other things. So bottom line is I surpassed everything where I should be. So, but I hear these people who have no problems, no physiological problems, no other problems besides they're just plain, and here comes the word again from Walter's mouth, plain fucking lazy. So I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that bullshit, how bad you have it and how you've been, suppressed for so many years because society has held you down. Bullshit. You held yourself down. Not me, not anyone else. You did. Just letting you know. So I just needed to get out. That's what I was going to call it. I'm already half an hour in it. I got like an hour's worth of audio bits, so I'm gonna plug those in next. But before I get there, I got a couple stories, and I do want to plug these or play these segments because I was determined to do so, and I will. There was a thing from the Federalist Paper Project. Did I say that right? It's a web link that I found on Facebook because I sign up for all the conservative news, and it just caught my eye right away. It was on February 6th. New map. It was the title "New Map: Cost of Illegal Immigration by State." So it goes through all the 52 states. Is it 52 or is it 50? I don't know, but it goes through all the states and how much money per state it is costing, us. And this isn't even for their health benefits that they get for free. This is just to keep, excuse me, I'm losing my voice thinking about this, that like the liberals think that we're not treating these illegals. We want to deport, what do you call it, the dreamers and everything. We want to deport all these people. Well, there's a good reason why we want to deport them. They're taking jobs away from Americans. They act like they're not. They keep on saying they're jobs that Americans don't want to do. We can't get those jobs. People cannot get those jobs. And certain people, that is the job, the only kind of job they really can do. There's certain people like myself who are not as fortunate I am. And you know what? Those jobs that nobody wants to do, people like myself, if I had no choice, I would be working at that job, but I wouldn't be able to get it because they gave it to an illegal. That's the bottom line. So anyway, I'm not going to go through all the states because it gives you a breakdown. It is on my Facebook page, or you can find me somehow, and I will send you the link if you're welcome. If you want to know more, just send a link or ask me on my my Spreaker page, my YouTube page, my Facebook page. When you find me on Google, just say, "Hey, Walt, can you send me a link to that article you're talking about?" I will gladly do it. So anyway, the cost per state of illegal, the cost, and it says excluding federal costs. So that's even more money added on. The burden that these illegal immigrants who supposedly are doing our country good, the most obvious one, the most money being paid out to these illegals is obviously California. That's the money that California is losing from having so many illegal immigrants, which is the worst, is $23 billion a year. $23 billion. It says cost of illegal aliens and kids to state taxpayers. That means we're paying for this. So why our taxes are so high. I'm going to go all the way over because it goes all the way across the United States has a map, and it breaks every state down and how much it costs. Pennsylvania is not as bad, but it is $1.4 billion is spent on illegal immigration. So that's a lot of money out of my pocket for taxes, because that's a smaller state compared to like other states. Well, it's a big state, but it's not that big. You can, it's not as big. I mean, there's smaller states that are paying a lot more, because like New York is a fairly decent-sized state, New York State. $7.5 billion is spent on illegal immigration. New Jersey's $4.5 billion spent every year on illegal immigration. Florida's $6.3 billion. Texas is $11 billion. I mean, you're talking not millions, you're talking billions of dollars. But they are such a good asset for us. Really? I don't see it, though, and neither did this article. So, again, if you're interested, I can give you the information, but I'm just letting you know. So, anyway. And I'm going to probably have just an hour alone before I even go into my segments, but I'm very determined to do this. I am very, very determined to do this. But I just needed to get that off my chest. I think tonight, the first one I'm going to try to play is the two I ripped the other day, and then I'm going to go through the ones I ripped tonight, or now officially yesterday. Well, it is Sunday night for me, no matter how you look at it. The one I really want to rip right now, and I'm not going to listen to it, so I hope I do this right. I'm going to do that for the rest of these because they're very long. It's the one from Activist Mommy. She is like, I love this woman. She's really good. I love hearing her when she talks just tonight, and that one's like 6 minutes almost. She says, what's really going on with this sexual harassment movement? Like, she's pissed. She is very pissed. And she got some hate remarks, I guess, or hate, what do you call it, emojis put on her page because of making it. Now, this one, particular one she had posted, I think this one was on a sexual, no, this is a new one. She had some older ones. She's got some, like, cat scratches at her from women, I guess, or from these guys with no penises. I don't know how else to put it. So, anyway, let me plug this in right now, Activist Mommy, and I hope you like it. So let me move my mic over, and here we go. I'm going to have to plug this in. Okay. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth, and I'm the Activist Mommy. Okay, I'm about to get myself in a boatload of trouble for saying something that I think a lot of you have been thinking, but struggling getting the guts up to say. Something is seriously wrong with the hashtag #MeToo sexual harassment movement. I really wanted to believe this was a good thing, guys. I did. But this has gone seriously off the rails. Here's the deal. Some of you chicks claiming to be victims, you aren't victims. You're guilty. When your boss invites you to his hotel room, there is one thing he wants, and it is not to talk to you about your resume. And every woman knows that. I have 6 daughters. And I'm teaching my daughters, you don't ever go to a hotel room or anywhere alone with a man for that matter. You think that's strict? Well, maybe it's because you want to do things with a man in a hotel room that you shouldn't. I teach my daughters, if a man in authority over you catches you by surprise and asks you to do something inappropriate, you say no. If he forces himself on you, you kick him in the nuts, gouge out his eyes, scream, run, report it to the police immediately, who will then go and find the guy with the damaged bits and the gouged out eyes and arrest him. Bam! You're the hero for doing the right thing. If he attempts to dangle your job in front of you for sexual favors, lose your job. No job is worth the price of losing your soul and your principles. Whatever happened to taking a stand for what's right? Look, sexing your way to the top of the ladder is not victimhood, it's prostitution. Harvey Weinstein and Matt Lauer were pigs in heat. No question about it. Men like that who prey on women should be reported to HR and should be fired from their positions. Sexual assault, forcing yourself on someone, is a crime that should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But some of you ladies who rewarded them with sexual favors, you're the ones who gave them more power by trading your morals for fame. And now you're crying victimhood? Salma Hayek is the latest to come out against Weinstein for harassment. Bull. She chose herself to be filmed doing a full nudity lesbian sex scene in order to be with the production company that she wanted to be with, and now she's crying victimhood and harassment? How slutty is that? She got a career and money and Oscars out of it. Salma should have said no when he attempted to persuade her to do this sex scene, and then she could have gone and found another production company. That's what you call principles and morals. Don't be bribed for sex and then go 10 years later and claim harassment. Now, Addie Collins, former staffer at Today, is the most recent to come out against Matt Lauer. This woman literally had sex with a married man for no other reason than the fact that she was flattered by his advances. Harassment? Bull. He didn't harass her any more than she harassed him. He never put a gun to her head. She betrayed Matt's wife over and over with her actions, and she's sharing about how traumatized she was by the situation? I'm not buying it. What about the trauma you caused to Matt's wife? Look, it's getting to the point where we're almost rolling our eyes when we hear about the next sexual harassment victim. And that's the worst part about it, is because now we are less likely as a culture to give real victims of sexual harassment and sexual assault the attention that they need because of all of these other ladies that are crying wolf. Way to go, feminists. You have forever reduced the term sexual assault to mean absolutely nothing. I'm going to tell you what this is. This is a power grab. This is a radical feminist assault on men and masculinity. This is an assault on natural love between men and women. The Ashley Judds and pink hat feminists of the world have a deep problem with men. And they will not be happy until they have reduced men to feminized lapdogs who crawl to us for crumbs. Please, America, stop letting these Jezebels take you for a ride. Unfortunately, decency is not making a comeback. The goal is to bring in a new regime of powerful leftist feminists to be the leaders in entertainment, media, and politics. There's a reason that there's a statute of limitations so that 40 years later you can't come back and ruin a man over allegations that can't be proven. Libel and defamation of character are crimes. And now we have men who are losing political office, losing their jobs because of unproven sexual allegations. I'm not talking about the ones where there is actual evidence and proof, but these unproven allegations, and especially by these women who are as guilty of sexual misconduct as the men are, and they're claiming victimhood and hashtag Me Too, bull. Done with it. Sick of it. I know it's hot, I know it's trendy, I know it makes you feel good to jump on the bandwagon, but don't succumb to the part of the movement that makes guilty women out to be victims and all men out to be perverts. If you agree that there's something wrong with this trend, please like my page to be my friend and share this video. Thanks, and God bless.
Okay, so that was Activist Mommy. So I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. I didn't listen to it this time, so I can't really reflect on it. And the reason I did that because it's like really late, and I just wanted to get this done with, get these segments put in. So that was Activist Mommy. I did listen to the whole thing last night. You know, she's picking on Weinstein and stuff, or if I remember correctly, and you know, she made a lot of valid points, but she's just tired of these women who are coming out 10 and more years later, blaming or claiming that they're victims. You know. They're not victims. They're just trying to cash. They cashed it in on this stuff 10 or so years ago, and they're cashing on again because they're women, and they're just trying to, you know, victimize themselves because, you know, that's what the left has convinced them they should do. And I don't buy it, and she doesn't buy it. So I was great. So the next one I'm going to try to do, I thought it was really interesting. This one's 6 minutes, so I apologize. It's another. Well, these aren't going to be the lengthiest ones. Believe it or not, these are the shortest ones. It's this one, Can't Believe Trump Won. I thought it was really good. This one I might have to listen for a few minutes because make sure it's okay. So let me know what you think in the comments below, as they always say. But anyway, I have no comments ever. So here we go. The one, Can't Believe Trump Won.
You can't believe that Trump won? Millions of Union Democrats who voted for Obama in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania in 2008 saw their factories close down, pack up, and ship overseas. And you can't believe Trump won? Not only did they see their jobs, their homes, and their kids' college fund disappear, but they saw that our media, Hollywood, and school system had the nerve to tell them that they had white privilege while they were putting their children to bed, explaining to them why they had to move, switch schools, and why Santa Claus might not be visiting this year. Yeah, white privilege, huh? Countless steel and coal mills on the East Coast have been replaced with opiates and unemployment. Intelligent Americans in tech jobs on the West Coast have been shelved in favor of foreign immigrants with broken English in order to meet diversity quotas and make a larger profit. And you can't believe Trump won. Manufacturing plants in the Midwest have also been packed up and shipped overseas, resulting from bad trade deals, over-regulations, and ballooned corporate tax rates. Leftist politicians have decided that they know best when deciding how to spend your blue-collar, hard-earned American dollar, and you can't believe Trump won. Lawmakers have made it clear that Americans will be put last in line in favor of the same foreigner that has taken your job, undercut your wages, and brought in the same substances that have sedated the Americans after the depression sets in from your unemployment and foreclosed home. And you can't believe Trump won. Out-of-touch rich Hollywood superstars race to their platforms to tell you, the lower and middle-class white American, why you should check your privilege and preach to you about how Trump is an evil racist because he wants to build a wall and crack down on illegal immigration, yet they also praised Obama, who deported over 3 million people and called for a border wall as well in 2006. And you can't believe Trump won. Millions of hard-working Americans saw Democrats force a socialized government-controlled health care act down their throats while watching the president promise, if you like your doctor, you can keep it. Directly after 2013, a giant-sized portion of the country saw their HMO premiums skyrocket, many of them up over 60%, while millions of them discovered that, oh, by the way, you can't really keep your doctor. And you can't believe Trump won. Millions of Americans saw their president add more debt than any of his previous predecessors as he put the economic recovery on a virtual federal credit card and phantom stimulus package. They saw the federal regulations break records as the foot of the federal government came down on the necks of the American people, which caused manufacturing jobs to free fall and labor force participation rate to decline. And you can't believe Trump won? We see our politicians stand behind podiums for hours and hours and hours on end, preaching to veterans who have been rendered paraplegic on why illegal immigrants, who shouldn't be here in the first place, need to be ushered to the front of the line of importance in the process of lawmaking. All for votes.
When my grandson blew out the candles on his cake, they said, "Did you make a wish?" And he said, "Yes, I made a wish." He said, "Well, what is your wish?" He said, "I wish I had brown skin and brown eyes like Antonio." So beautiful. So beautiful. The beauty is in the mix. The face of the future. The face of the future.
And you can't believe Trump won. Americans saw their children's schools racialize countless occurrences that have nothing to do with race. They saw their teachers telling white people that they are all evil colonialists and should commit mass suicide. They saw their president and media disregard every single white person shot by police while they sensationalized and racialized every single victim of a police shooting that wasn't white, even though there are far more whites who are killed by police every year. They saw their leader blame police and telling them that they have to do better to their faces at the actual funeral of 5 dead police officers in Dallas.
Although most of us do our best to guard against it and teach our children better, none of us is entirely innocent. No institution is entirely immune. And that includes our police departments. We know this.
And you can't believe Trump won. Americans saw riots and rampages at rallies in the streets of their country consisting of mostly foreigners who likely came to this country by way of chain migration and birthright citizenship. They saw them punching people, jumping on police cars, attacking police officers in broad daylight, flying the Mexican flag higher than the American flag, chanting "Make America Mexico Again." They saw terrorists who despised this country setting buildings ablaze, smashing windows of businesses, blocking veterans from entering speeches, and you can't believe Trump won?
Staff Sergeant David Stefaniak tried to enter President Trump's inauguration on Friday.
And Americans saw the ethnic mix of their country drastically change like the difference between day and night. They saw the source of immigration into every one of their beloved 50 states change from a healthy mix of many developed nations to coming from only one undeveloped one. All for votes. They saw robbery, rape, and sexual assault triple per 100,000 here since 1960 because of this. They saw their neighborhoods be transformed into mimicked renditions of the cities these aliens came from. They saw that they had to press 1 for English more and more and more every single year. And you can't believe Trump won. Man, can you believe that Trump won?
Okay, so I hope everybody liked that one. I know I did. I have to turn on my sound so I can hear myself. So that I can't believe Trump won. I thought it was definitely really good and definitely entertaining and somewhat fun. No, it was funny too. So moving right along, as Rush would probably say. And you know what's funny? Because I always have stuff on Ken Matthews, but I haven't listened to any of these guys like in their... in a long enough segment to pull stuff I would really want to pull, so I haven't been able to. There's a short one from Rush, and there's that long, it's actually over 16 minutes long from Rush. But they're about how guys at the workplace, I'm going to play this one first. Guys at the workplace now are too afraid to even approach women, in these, I'm the same way. Because, I've said this, I'm just too afraid, and this is true, they're too afraid of having, repercussions or something where a woman's going to turn around sometime and say, oh, he raped me, or he sexually assaulted me. Because women now, they can cry wolf all they want, and they're going to be believed. So that's the bottom line. And then after that one, I want to talk for a few seconds, and then play the big, long one from Rush. And that one's entertaining because it's Hillary at Georgetown University convincing women that, the world is pretty much going to eventually come to an end or so to speak. And that women are going to be the ones that are going to have to caretake and have all this responsibility put on them because they can't depend on men. It's a joke, and I will play that. But first, I got to play this one from Rush. About men now kind of hey, I got to step back. Hey, if I am in the same room with a woman by myself, I got to watch out because they might turn around and cry rape. And it's true. I'm using it hypothetically. But here we go. Well, let me play that first one for Rush first. Yeah, you know what I mean.
So the backlash against Me Too. Kyle Smith. Men are scared. Feminists are delighted. But the urge to call out and punish male sexual transgression is bound to clash with an inescapable truth, and that is we're all in this together, men and women. And with a few exceptions like Hillary Clinton, men and women generally like each other. And men and women are, for the most part, intrigued by each other. And men and women like to explore each other. And yet here comes liberalism once again, with the Me Too movement and what is happening here. And it's not new. It's just now intensifying. Men are refusing to do anything alone with a woman exactly the way Mike Pence said he conducts his public life. Remember how he was mocked and laughed at? Male executives are refusing to have lunch with female subordinate executives. They're refusing to travel. They are refusing to put themselves anywhere even near a scenario where they could be tempted or be lied about, either way. And so, the predictable reaction, these men are denying women business opportunities, promotional opportunities. These men are segregating themselves and preventing, once again, women from having access to the glass ceiling. And that is the backlash. And you can't blame a single guy for it.
Okay, so I hope, again, you like that one as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's exactly what I kind of said. I mean, it doesn't sound like that in the beginning. Guys now he said executives, but that's everywhere. People are too afraid. Guys are too afraid to approach a woman anymore because you don't know if it's going to end up being like you're going to get criminal charges against you for not doing anything. You know, it just now, and this next segment kind of goes more into that, you know, men are made out to be monsters nowadays, and women don't realize you're just going to genocide our, excuse me, I'm burping now too. You're going to destroy mankind just from your own ignorance. I mean, that's bottom line. So I want to go into this last segment, by the way, because it is 16 minutes and 10 seconds long, give or take a few. So I'm going to play this. This is a very long-winded, no, I don't want to say long-winded, because all the information in there I think needs to be heard. It's a Rush Limbaugh segment. The reason I found out about this one, because I remember hearing it last week. And then they have on the weekend, especially Sunday, the one radio station, because I don't bother to tune in to Rush like I used to. I do pay for it. But they do the best of Rush on Sunday afternoon. And it's perfect. So right before I went to work today, I heard this and was like, yeah, I remember him talking about this. And in fact, I did want to add this to my show, which I am now. So this is going to take me a little over an hour, which isn't too bad. I got all 4 segments in then, and I'll be happy. So here we go. Last segment, and I named it Rush on Hillary's speech because it was her doing a speech in Georgetown, at Georgetown University outside of D.C. So here we go.
Hillary Clinton predicts women will bear the brunt of climate change. Okay, now, to you and me, this is preposterous. This is literally insane that climate change has any effect, it has any way of knowing who it's going to hurt most. This is all part of a long existing media meme. Women and children, hardest hit. Women and minorities, hardest hit. Women and the poor, hardest hit. It's something to be pasted into every story of disaster, every story of damage. This is from, let's see, doesn't matter. It's one of the drive-by sources. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton believes women will be burdened more and will have to find the firewood themselves. Hillary predicted Monday during a human rights event at Georgetown University that climate change will force women to bear the brunt of looking for the food, looking for the firewood, looking for the place to migrate to. The migration will not be led by men, she said, but rather by women when all of the grass is finally gone, as the desertification moves south and you have to keep moving your livestock or your crops are no longer growing. Now, what is she talking about? This woman wouldn't know a farm if an alien snatched her up and deposited her on one. What is it? Let me read this again. In fact, we have a soundbite. And the soundbite. Yeah, we have it. This is actually her saying this at Georgetown University yesterday.
They will bear the brunt of looking for the food, looking for the firewood, looking for the place to migrate to when all of the grass is finally gone as the desertification moves south and you have to keep moving your livestock or your crops are no longer growing, they're burning up in the intense heat that we're now seeing reported across North Africa into the Middle East and into India. So yes, women once again will be primarily burdened with the problems of climate change.
I'm at a loss as to how to deal with this in any meaningfully different way than I have been dealing with. This is insane. This is moronic. In the first place, the climate change predictors tell us it's 30 to 50 years away, and that we have to act now if we're to have a chance at preventing it. They're not telling us it's happening now. They try to claim we're in a warming period, but that the warming is not, this is never going to happen in our lifetimes. If that happens, it'll blow their whole plan. It cannot happen in our lifetimes because it isn't happening. Therefore, they never predict it to happen in our lifetimes because that way they would be proven wrong. They'll never predict it within 30 to 50 years. It's always that or a little longer, but they can't. Now they're getting caught up in their own passion. Because whenever they think there is, shall we say, an extraordinarily hot week, why, it must be climate change, and they point to it. But the rejoinder is, wait a minute, you people yourselves say that this isn't going to happen for 30 to 40 years. And in some cases, the worst isn't going to happen until 2100. But the Sahara Desert is already a desert, Hillary. There aren't any crops in the Sahara Desert. It is already... She said they're burning up the intense heat that we're now seeing reported across North Africa. North Africa, aside from cities on the coastal shelf there to the Mediterranean, it's the Sahara Desert. It's already a desert. Into the Middle East and into India. So now climate change is happening. I guess the forecast predictions for years out are off the books now. Oh, it is. It's happening everywhere. It's happening here. It's happening everywhere. And you can't judge freezing cold weather as a sign that it isn't getting warmer, they say. That's stupid. My tech bloggers, they say it's stupid. You can't take sub-zero day after day after day and say that it doesn't mean the climate is getting warmer. And people that do that are stupid and don't know the science. If it's cold, if it's cold and freezing abnormally below normal cold, does not mean that climate change, global warming is not happening. Anyway, look, there's so many ways to cut this to shreds. Women will bear the brunt of looking for the food. Notice this apocalyptic picture. She's talking to people that are being charged $30,000 to $50,000 a year to attend Georgetown University. Their parents are scrimping and scraping and coming up with that money to send them there. And this is the kind of apocalyptic instruction that they're getting. And here is Hillary Clinton, a presidential candidate who has, I don't think she means this for a minute. I can't believe that even a reasonably intelligent person actually believes this. I have to think they know that they are promulgating a scam. It defies intellectual acuity to believe that this scenario is going to happen. They will bear the brunt of looking for the food. She's on college campus, and she's trying to mobilize a bunch of college-age women to become her army. And they're using fear and fright and fatalism. Women will bear the brunt of looking for the food, looking for the firewood. Of course, see, there won't be any furnaces. Why would you need firewood if it's this damn hot? If it's this hot that crops won't grow, if it's this hot that the Sahara Desert is becoming an even bigger desert, if the grass is gone because of the burning heat, if North America is becoming a desert, why would you need firewood? Cooking? Don't have any food because the crops are gone. The crops have literally been burned away. That's why you're migrating to the south. Then what happens when you get to the Gulf of Mexico? Are women then going to have to build the ships on which everybody boards and heads wherever to stay ahead of the desertification of North America? And where are the men? Are the men to be left behind because they have already proven themselves to be utterly and totally worthless when it comes to survival? Can Hillary and the women not get them out of their man caves to even help? Are they still using shortwave radios to try to find NFL broadcasts while in their man caves, and they refuse to come out and help the women and children survive? Men are that selfish, that lazy, and that ambivalent about this? Well, they're going to be doing something. If there's not watching NFL broadcasts by then, of course, the NFL probably won't be playing because it'd be too hot to play. The players would, literally expire. If the desertification's going on out there, unless everybody's in a dome stadium, but then you're going to have to air condition the place, and that causes climate change and global warming. So you got to turn off the air conditioning. But then there aren't going to be anybody at home to watch because there's not going to be any homes because it's really becoming a desert and people are migrating to the Gulf of Mexico in order to stay alive, but the men are not helping. And there are women in this audience that are eating this up. They're buying into it, full-fledged, hook, line, and sinker. Play the bite again. I want you to listen to this. I have to dissect this the way we laugh at it. We've proven that laughing at it is the wrong way to go, but we laugh at it, we have fun, but it's not going to change anybody's opinion of it. They've been saying crazy stuff like this for 30 years, and we've been laughing at it for 25 years. We find out, to our utter shock and dismay, that the left believes this stuff. Here it is again.
They will bear the brunt of looking for the food, looking for the firewood, looking for the place to migrate to when all of the grass is finally gone as the desertification moves south and you have to keep moving your livestock, or your crops are no longer growing, they're burning up in the intense heat that we're now seeing reported across North Africa into the Middle East and into India. So yes, women once again will be primarily burdened with the problems of climate change.
She was asked about the impacts of climate change on women. She actually got the question. There was some woman in this audience of students that literally asked her, and that's the answer she came up with. Can you believe this? Even those of you who believe in climate change, don't tell me you believe this. That you're going to be migrating because New York and Illinois and Montana are going to be deserts? And you're all going to be dressed up like farm women, and you're going to be driving the herd down south, and the herd's going to die because the intense heat, the grass is going to burn up. The men are nowhere to be found because they're worthless to begin with. The women got to find the firewood. The women got to find the food. There's no crops. How, are you really buy this? So yes, women once again will be primarily burdened with, to the lengths to which these literal idiots go to promulgate the idea that women are being discriminated against is mind-boggling. All of this is said in service of the idea that women remain discriminated against and unappreciated, and yet the burden of survival and life always falls to women, but they're never appreciated for it, and they're never compensated for it. And so Hillary is saying, even with climate change, your lug boyfriend or husband's going to be just as worthless then as he is now. You can't expect any help from this guy. You're going to have to run the cattle drive. You're going to have to find the food. You're going to have to chop down the trees that aren't there because we're turning into a desert. You're going to have to grow crops or find food. There isn't any. You're going to be engaging in literal fights with other settlers and refugees as you head south during the desertification of the world's lone superpower. I swear. I want to see the movie. I want Tom Steyer to get. I want this movie on Netflix. It can be a double feature with The Handmaid's Tale Part 2. Because part of this also is that the women are being made to dress up like milkmaids. They have to wear chastity belts. They're only permitted with sex with men who don't want to become fathers. All of this is going to happen on the cattle drive, and the men only show up for sex, and then they vanish and go back to wherever they are when the women are carrying this lonely burden. Georgetown University. A lecture from the Democrat candidate for president, and people wonder why this woman lost? And people wonder why this woman was defeated? Really? Trying to dial it back a little here, folks, so as not to scare. It's been pointed out to me that people listen to NPR could think you're yelling if you just speak like this. Yep, the migration will not be led by men. The Georgetown Institute for Women, Peace, and Security is where this grand lecture took place. She said, I mean, everyone has to purge themselves of prejudicial thoughts, of worries about who's on top and who isn't in the world, as it is today. When asked how she would handle the backlash against women, Clinton said some people react negatively to feminism and women's rights because they feel insecure or frightened by those women. Where is the backlash against women? I mean, is there one? Am I missing it? Hillary Clinton is so out of it, she doesn't realize that robots are going to be chopping the wood. Robots are going to be leading the cattle drive. Hell, robots are going to be the cattle. Robots are going to be finding the crops and the food. Robots are going to be providing the sex for you, Hillary, because that'll be the only option. It is insane. And this is treated as serious gospel. The same people who believe whatever Neil deGrasse Tyson says or what that Hawking guy that we've only got 50 years to colonize Mars. Have you people not seen the Cloverfield movies? Do you not realize we can't colonize Mars? Do you realize what's out there just waiting to eat us and kill us? I mean, that's how you react to this, what movies are showing. This is mind-boggling. And people really think, if we don't colonize Mars, climate change is going to wipe us out. And Hillary Clinton comes along and paints a picture of exactly how. And they all just eat it up.
Okay, I listened to the first few seconds. I didn't want to listen because it was really long. I will listen to my shows later, though. I always try to, just to get an idea. So it's a bit lengthy. Again, it's 16 minutes. That's a good length of her show. That's almost like a half an hour to 45 minutes with the commercials put in there. But this is right to the point. And it was like, I heard this last week and I thought it was really good. Again, I myself got to listen to this a little bit more in depth again. I just am running so late in time, but I think you get the gist. I'm sure it's going to piss off quite a few people, but I don't do this because I want to piss off people. But if I would have said the same thing that Rush had said in that 16-minute segment, I would have heard a ton of excuses. Me playing this, I will still hear from certain people, well, some like wishy-wash, some type of excuse, even so. It's just a fact. But you can't back up somebody who is his whole career on him making money is on telling the truth. Unlike, you can say, well, the news doesn't tell the truth. Wow, that's the first time I've heard that from anybody. Because they don't tell the truth. The news does not tell the truth. But this man has made his living off of the only way he can is by telling the truth. By not making up these false, fake news things. So Rush has, not to make fake news, but to tell the truth. So, me saying it is one thing. Hearing it from somebody else on something I actually think the same way, or which obviously then I agree with what he said, then that's a different story. Then you can't make up any lame excuse. Well, yeah, he did say that. You can't use that but thing, which I'm so used to hearing from everybody. So Anyway, since it is really late, folks, thank you for, hopefully, if you made it through my show tonight, because I never know what I'm going to do in my next one, and I do really want to end this so I can go to bed. So I hope you enjoyed it, because right now, while I am doing the show, it's like pretty early in the morning, and I should be sleeping. But I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you do enjoy what I put together when I can. So I'm cutting this. I'm cutting this loose. I'm ending this show. Thanks a lot for listening to me. There's a lot of interesting concerts coming up this summer around my area of Philadelphia. Outside of Philadelphia is where I'm at. But a lot of interesting conventions between Philly and Jersey. A lot of concerts are coming up that I wouldn't mind going to. I won't be able to go to them all. Like Depeche Mode, who hasn't been around in a decade almost. I don't know. It seems that long. And some other interesting bands other than the ones that I seem to like for strange reasons. So anyway, everyone, have a good one. This is Walter from iWalter, and I will be signing off as of now. Or soon when I can find my mouse to sign off. So yeah, I'm signing off. So have a good one, folks. I'm not going to say it again.